Beautiful days. Danganronpa 1. I'm just a bit more optimistic than other people. Scan and translation by Kamase Megane. Cleaning and typesetting by Manly-Rompa. Thank you.
I'm just a bit more optimistic than other people.
By Asaki Toru.
Don't you feel anxious at all, Nagi? You were only accepted because of super high school level good luck.
Huh?
Have you not thought about your near future? Luck is probability. There's no guarantee your good luck will stick around from here on out. Did you think you could graduate using only luck for your exams and tests of skill?
Well, I don't know. But I think it'll work out somehow.
Even exams?
Yeah.
Without being good at any subject?
If I'm just a little bit optimistic, it'll work out somehow. Also, when I got accepted, I ended up in this situation. I was a little worried, but...
What? This kid's scary!
Shut up.
But it really will work out somehow.
What are you saying? Ain't this bad luck?
Next page. Beautiful days. Danganronpa 1. Handle with care. Scan and translation by Kamase Megane. Cleaning and typesetting by Manly-Rompa. Redrawing, Mamoru Ito. Thanks to both of you. Handle with care. Sayo Ichi.
Oh! Tsugami-kun, your collar is wrinkled.
Probably because I fell asleep at my desk yesterday, reading over data. You stopped me just to say that. You're going out of your way. Thoughtless.
Yeah. Seeing that even a person like you had a normal side, I just suddenly felt a real affinity with you.
Rejoice. I'm officially putting you in charge of my ironing. Are you happy? I see. Of course you are. You're so happy that you're starting to cry, aren't you? After all, you're working for me, a Togami. Don't come near me. Don't compare us.
Sizzle.
Hot, hot, hot! Togami-kun, it's hot! I'm sorry. I just really wasn't thinking.
The end. Beautiful days. Danganronpa 1. Super high school level present. Story by Iori Saki. Illustration by Fujiwara Ryo.
When I opened the door to the classroom that evening, no one was there. The students of Hope's Peak Private Academy all excelled in their super high school level talents. And just this morning, everyone had been noisily chatting in this very room. But now that class was over, everyone had probably gone off to practice and brush up on their respective talents. I sighed, shivering slightly from the chilly air in the room. The divine blessing of a single talent. I was jealous of everyone else who was able to refine theirs. There's no way I could do the same with my own ability. Super high school level good luck. Naegi Makoto. That's me. Just getting accepted into this school in the first place was good luck. But I wanted something else. I didn't just want good luck for myself. I wanted the power to help and encourage other people, like everyone else. I reached out with my empty hand and closed it tightly, as if grabbing onto something. That's when it happened. Suddenly, a clattering sound caused my back to tense up. Cold sweat running down my skin, I timidly searched around the classroom. Doing so, I saw long black hair swaying out from under a seat in the very center of the room. Who's there? I shrunk back without thinking, starting to run away, but the sight of a hairpin stopped me in my tracks. Mizuno-san? Oh! Naeki-kun! It was my classmate, Mizuno Sayaka, whose face peeked out from underneath the desk. It looked like she was searching for something under there, but the super high school level idol's expression was unusually dark, unlike the smile she always wore. What's wrong? Did you lose something? Mm-hmm. This morning, I swore I put something in my desk, but now I can't find it. Mizuno-san looked like she was barely holding back tears even now. It must have been something very important. Can I help you look for it? Huh? But... After Mizuno-san's slight surprise, I hastily continued, only if you want me to, though. Mizuno-san and I had attended the same middle school before coming to Hope's Peak Academy, but I was an extremely ordinary middle school student, so there was no way I could talk to a popular idol like her. And even though now we were normal classmates at the school, I still hesitated to associate with her. But Mizuno-san said, with equal haste, "No, that's not it. I would feel just as bad if you were busy." "Oh, no way. I don't have anything to practice. I'd like to help you out if you'd let me." With just those few words, the smile returned to Mizuno-san's face, and she no longer looked like she was about to cry. My shoulders relaxed in relief. "So, what can you find?" Mizuno-san looked a little embarrassed, and her gaze dropped to the floor as she opened her mouth. "Well, you see..." "Hey! Kirigiri-san!" The botanical garden at the top of the school building. Kirigiri-san was looking down at a western book in the shade of the southern trees before I called out to her, and she raised her pale eyes to meet mine. "Oh, if it isn't Naegi-kun. Did you need something?" In contrast to the warm air of the botanical garden, Kirigiri's tone of voice was cold, and her expression was steely. I faltered for a bit, but I didn't think Kirigiri-san held any ill will towards me or anything. This was how she acted around everyone. So I told myself not to be scared as a good luck charm, and continued, "I have a favor to ask you." Instantly, her eyes started searching me. They felt scrutinizing, but I held fast and withstood it until she spoke. "What favor?" I want you to help me look for something that got lost." "Something that got lost?" "Yeah, I was just thinking, this is the kind of thing you're best at. It's probably impossible relying only on my own luck." So even super high school level good luck can lose things. So what did you lose?" Her voice was as monotonous as ever, but it seemed as if she would accept the request. As I answered the question she'd prompted me to, her eyebrows furrowed slightly. "Homemade cookies." Her voice was dubious, colored by the question of why I would have made cookies. "Oh, I'm not the one who made them. Mizuno-san made them." It felt like the temperature in the botanical garden dropped instantly. Kirigiri-san's cool gaze was colder than ever, piercing through my face. Huh? What happened?" While I was at a loss, Kirigiri-san sighed. "I see." Her gaze fell back down towards her book. "If they're homemade, she can just make more. Bye then." As soon as the conversation was over, her gloved fingers started turning the pages. I couldn't make myself talk to her any more than that when she started shutting everything out and immersing herself in the world of the book again. I wonder what got into Kirigiri-san. It had seemed like she was going along with things at first, but suddenly she'd changed her mind. She'd changed completely right after I'd mentioned homemade cookies. So did that rub her the wrong way somehow? I thought Kirigiri-san's level-headed judgment would be good for finding something that was lost, but it couldn't be helped. Now that I couldn't expect her support, I tried to consult another classmate, Hagakure-kun. Sitting on the couch in the rec room, humming and peering into a clear, palm-sized crystal ball, Hagakure Yasuhiro-kun was the super high school level fortune teller and the next likeliest after Kirigiri-san to be able to find missing items. Watching him from behind, I couldn't see anything but the distorted reflection of his large dreadlocks in the crystal ball, but surely the super high school level fortune teller Hagakure-kun would be able to see something there. Or at least, that's what I thought.
I can't see anything.
At those 4 words, I pitched forward some before I could stop myself. Huh?
I can see something kind of brownish and fluffy, though.
Isn't that just your hair?
Oh! That's gotta be it.
Hagakure-kun laughed heartily after he spoke. But this wasn't the time for that.
You can't tell where the cookies are? I get it, but right now it's kind of hard to see anything, so can't you hit up someone else first? I'll work something out in the meantime.
Someone else? Like who? I went through my classmates in my mind, but I couldn't think of anyone else that would be good for finding missing things.
Ishimaruchi's in the dojo.
Ishimaru-kun? By Ishimaruchi, he meant the super high school level hall monitor, Ishimaru Kiyotaka. I had admittedly tried searching the classroom with Mizuno-san and hadn't found anything. Cookies couldn't just walk off on their own, so if they weren't in the classroom, then someone must have stolen them. There's no doubt that Ishimaru-kun would help out if it involved a theft in the classroom. You're right. I'll try asking Ishimaru-kun. But I can't believe you just knew he was in the dojo. Was that some divination of yours? Hagakure-kun just said, in response to my question, shaking his head.
I just saw him earlier in the hallway passing by.
He smacked me a few times on my back, where I'd become tense without realizing it, and put an arm around my neck, raising his thumb to show me.
My divinations may only have a 30% accuracy rate, but like they say, seeing is believing. I saw it with my own eyes, so you know it's true.
I wasn't sure whether that 30% accuracy rate was supposed to be high or low, but I couldn't think of anything else to say in response. So I said, well, I'll be off then, tottering out of the rec room. Just as Hagakure-kun's eyewitness account claimed, Ishimaru-kun was in the dojo. Our classmates Kuwata Leon and Uwada Mondo were there with him too. Kuwata-kun was in the middle of the archery range with a ball, and Uwada-kun was standing where the archers should, wielding a bat. It looked like they were playing baseball, although maybe they were courting divine retribution by doing it in a place intended for archery. Ishimaru-kun looked like he was keeping watch over them, like some sort of supervisor, standing off to the side with his arms crossed and his feet apart. As sparks flew between Kuwata-kun and Uwada-kun, Ishimaru-kun wore a stern expression, but that was how he always was. So I went over to talk to him, thinking he might just be a spectator. Ishimaru-kun, there's something I'm worried about. Worried? What is it, Naegi-kun? Now, tell me everything! Maybe Ishimaru-kun's super high school level hall monitor blood got boiling, because he seemed suddenly eager as he listened to my story. What? A theft in the classroom? That's impermissible! Completely impermissible! Naegi-kun, if the morals of our class have been thrown into disarray, we must rectify them post-haste! Right. So, I was wondering if I could get your help, Ishimaru-kun? Indubitably! Resolving this matter is my mission as hall monitor. No, my destiny! Relieved by his emphatic words, I started heading towards the classroom, inviting him. Then, should we start by checking out the crime scene? But Kuwata-kun's voice calling out from the archery range stopped us in our tracks. Whoa, whoa, whoa! What about our showdown, Ishimaru?
Naegi, you bastard! Don't get in the way of a man's competition!
A man's competition? I had thought they were just getting really fired up about baseball, but now it seemed like it was more of a baseball showdown between Kuwata-kun and Owada-kun, and Ishimaru-kun was apparently their witness. Owada! You're 100 years too early to challenge me at baseball!
Don't fuck with me! I'd lose my pride as a man if I only won against people who are at a disadvantage.
You ready to strike out on 100 straight pitches?
Bring it on! You're gonna cry when an amateur sends a ball flying over your head!
I found myself at a loss, faced with the burning intensity of a fight between men. No, I mean, I'm a man too, but I kinda can't really get involved in all that. This certainly is a legitimate showdown between men. I shall watch over your 100-ball competition from an impartial standpoint. Naegi-kun, I offer my sincere apologies, but this competition was a prior engagement. But as soon as this is over, I shall rush to your side without a moment's delay, Ishimaru-kun said, before once again folding his white-clad arms and standing with his legs apart. So when exactly is a 100-ball competition going to be over? If a baseball game has 3 people get 3 strikes each inning right away, that's still only 81. So 100 balls would take longer than if it were a real baseball game. Even if Kuwata-kun was the super high school level baseball player, Owada-kun's pride as a super high school level gang leader wouldn't let him back down easily in a fight. Thinking to myself I couldn't rely on them to finish this before the day was over, I still just left them with a, "Well, I'll be counting on you then," before heading back into the school building. How's it going, Hagakure-kun? Can you see anything? When I returned to the rec room, Hagakure-kun had his arms crossed, tilting his head. I peered at his crystal ball, and where previously it was clear and reflecting Hagakure-kun's dreadlocks, it was now pitch black. Huh? What does this mean? I thought I'd try and divine the general circumstances of the cookie's surroundings, wherever they are right now. The cookie's surroundings? Yep. And when I finally got it, it ended up like this. Like this. What if they were already thrown into the incinerator and burned up? I turned pale considering the worst case scenario, but that's when Hagakure-kun told me they were still in the box, so the surroundings were totally dark. I slumped, losing all my energy at that answer. What the heck? So that means no one's eaten the cookies yet. At least divine the surroundings of the box that the cookies are in then. I was thinking that I was gonna try doing that right now. You clearly only thought of it just now, didn't you? It was painfully obvious by the way Hagakure-kun was trembling. But, Naegichi, it's not like this was a totally useless divination, right? The cookies were shaking around a little while ago. Shaking? So someone was carrying them somewhere? Yeah, like that. Maybe they're gonna start eating them soon. I was taken aback by that one sentence. Mizuno-san had told me that the cookies were in a wrapped box. Maybe the culprit had determined from the wrapping paper and the weight of the box that they had sweets inside, so they took them from the classroom to go eat them somewhere. The culprit couldn't be Kuwata-kun or Owada-kun, who were having their manly showdown, or Ishimaru-kun, who was serving as their witness. It couldn't be Hagakure-kun either, since he was right there. It had to be someone else. Actually, I heard the girls were going to have a fancy tea party. That one sentence propelled me to rush out of the rec room. They could be eating Mizuno-san's cookies right this moment. They needed hot water and tea supplies for a tea party, so there was a very high probability of them being in the dorm cafeteria. After rushing out from the rec room, I frantically ran down the stairs towards the cafeteria and ran into someone on the landing. Ouch! Sorry, are you okay? The person I'd run into was my classmate, Enoshima Junko-san. I just bumped into her shoulder, but her slender body still couldn't withstand that, and she'd fallen backwards onto her behind. I was in a hurry. I'm really sorry, I said, holding out a hand, but my eyes were drawn to the pretty suggestive amount of thigh being shown from under Enoshima-san's short skirt, and I hastily added, "Sorry!" before turning around to face the other direction. As I was trying to reinstate reason and forget about the brief yet revealing glimpse of pale thigh, I suddenly felt the brush of fingers against the nape of my neck. Huh? Enoshima-san? Oh no. You're turning red, Naegi. That's not true! So you say. But even the back of your neck is bright red. How cute! Why were you in such a rush? It's not that important. I'm really sorry for everything. Huh? Junko's not gonna forgive you if you don't tell Junko why. I could tell she was totally playing around with me by the way her voice suddenly got more high-pitched and childish. But the truth was, not even worshipping at the super high school level Gyaru's feet would be enough to get out of this. As Enoshima-san stroked my cheek, toying with me, I gathered my resolve and told her everything, before asking, "You didn't happen to see the cookies in the classroom, did you, Enoshima-san?" What? Are you suspecting me or something, Naegi? Enoshima-san narrowed her eyes, heavy with makeup and suspicion, and I frantically waved my arms in denial. I didn't mean that I suspect you exactly. It's just, I've been asking everyone in the class, so I thought I would ask you too. Oh, so that's how it is. Enoshima-san let out a barking laugh. You're so dumb. Of course I'm not gonna shove cookies in my face. Huh? Didn't you see? My legs, my face, my whole damn fine body? How hard do you think I have to work to keep this up? Huh? I worked for this. I count calories for every meal. I'm not gonna stick something as fattening as cookies in my mouth without even thinking. Okay. I always just ate whatever was in the cafeteria back in middle school without really thinking about it. I thought girls liked sweets, though. I love, love, love them! But I won't even eat the sweets that I love so much. I have to stay on a restricted diet, and I can't forget to take care of my skin, and I have to make sure I don't get too stressed out, so I have to make sure I get enough sleep. Girls have it pretty rough. You bet. It's tough to stay cute. So I have nothing to do with that. I see. Sorry for wasting your time. I don't mind, though. But I didn't know you and Mizono had that kind of relationship. Huh? But we don't. The cookies weren't a present for me. Is that so? So I wonder if Mizuno really was going to give them to someone yesterday. But she seemed really happy making them. I guess she was probably planning on giving them to someone. Naegi, you're basically a good guy at heart, so I think if you tried just a little harder to study up on what girls are thinking, then you'd be on the right track, okay? Then she struck a charming pose, as if someone had a camera out, said, "Bye then," and left. Mizuno-san didn't tell me anything about it, but I wonder what she was planning on doing with those homemade cookies. It must have been a present, but who was she planning on giving them to? I was heading down the stairs thinking about it when I saw my classmate Fukawa Toko-san from behind in the second floor hallway. Huh? That cart she's pushing around. Does it have a teapot on it? Wait a minute! Fukawa-san! But it seemed as if she didn't hear me, since she kept pushing the cart with a smirk on her face and disappeared into her room. It was in the library. Are they planning on holding the tea party in there, even when there's no eating or drinking allowed in the library? I hurriedly chased after her and found only 2 people alone in the library, with Fukawa pouring some tea, expression overflowing with ecstasy. The person sitting near her, reading a business magazine, was our classmate, Togami Byakuya-kun. As Fukawa-san gently pushed the tea towards Togami-kun, he reached out for it without even raising his head, saying, "Good work." "Hey, Togami-kun!" I was sorry to intrude, but I called out regardless, and Togami-kun flicked his eyes slightly in my direction without otherwise moving, watching me over his glasses.
If it isn't Naegi, what do you want?
Food and drink are supposed to be banned in the library.
So what?
Togami-kun responded without hesitation, sounding from his tone of voice alone as if he already knew that without my saying anything. Well, so food and drink here.
My throat was parched, so I had something brought to me. Is there something wrong with that?
The moisture might be bad for the books.
Huh.
Togami-kun scoffed at my opinions.
These books were all donations from the Togamis. If they become damaged, I'll just buy replacements for all of them. So there's no problem, is there?
Togami-kun was the super high school level heir and the successor to the Togami family. It was true that Hope's Peak Academy was a private academy, and it would probably be good for them to have sponsors, but as soon as he stopped talking, Togami-kun had turned his gaze back to his magazine, so I scrambled to hold my ground. "Hey, Togami-kun, I wanted to ask you, did you pick up any sweets in the classroom earlier?"
What? Sweets?
"That's right. There were some homemade cookies with some cute wrapping paper." "Byakuya-sama would never do such a thing!" Fukawa-san cut off my explanation from off to the side with a high-pitched shriek. "Do you think Byakuya-sama is the sort of person who picks up what other people have dropped?"
Be quiet, Fukawa.
After pacifying Fukawa with just those 3 words, Togami-kun continued,
I don't make a habit of picking up what other people have dropped, and I have no interest in amateur confectionery. Healthcare is the foremost concern for those in leadership positions.
Now that Togami-kun had mentioned it, I could see his point. Really, I couldn't imagine Togami-kun picking up anything that had dropped in the classroom, let alone eating it. The most I could see him doing would be kicking it out of his way.
Is that all the business you had with me? Who said you could drink some of that?
It seemed like Togami-kun had noticed that Fukawa-san was stealthily pouring herself some tea behind his back, while she was forbidden from using her words. She froze, rooted right where she stood, like a dog who had been ordered to stay. Togami-kun's imposing words are admittedly pretty powerful, but are they really enough to command absolute obedience? I know Fukawa-san has a thing for Togami-kun, but I really don't understand how girls feel after all. Actually, you came from the kitchen, didn't you, Fukawa-san? Did you see anyone else making tea there?
Naegi is asking you a question. Answer it.
Yes! Celeste was in the cafeteria. Celeste-san. By Celeste-san, I meant Celestia Ludenberg-san, another classmate, who was a young lady with Gothic style and curled pigtails. She carried herself like nobility, and she seemed like exactly the type to have an elegant tea party, surrounded by roses.
Now that you mention it, it seems like Celeste ate the last of my favorite imported cookies the other day. I heard she might have been treating them like they were her own.
Huh? So was Celeste-san the culprit who took them? because she ran out of other cookies? I thanked Togami-kun and Fukawa-san and ran out towards the cafeteria. Oh my? Could it be Naeki-kun? I leapt into the dorm cafeteria, and just like Fukawa-san had said, Celeste-san was elegantly drinking tea alone. My eyes quickly darted to the table, but I was a little relieved to find that there weren't any cookies there. Whatever is the matter? What business could possibly cause you to be so out of breath? Celeste-san, did you see any cookies in the classroom? Celeste-san parroted, Cookies? As if taken aback. Well, I have no recollection of any, but why do you ask? I explained the sequence of events thus far, and then said, I thought maybe someone would know something about it, so I'm going around and asking everyone. My, Celeste said, so you came in a flurry to see if I had perhaps eaten them. You must be joking. I would not put a cookie in my mouth if it was made by just anyone off this street. The cookies I was always eating were those imported from their countries of origin. Now that she mentioned it, I was pretty sure she was right. I saw her drinking tea a lot, but her tea cakes were always the imported kind, with European words on the packaging. Togami-kun told me you ate the last of them. I suppose I did. I thought the might of the Togami conglomerate might be able to take care of things, despite the circumstances. But if there are no cookies, then let them eat macarons. Is there a problem with that? That line sounds like a certain queen's. But for her to act as if it was a perfectly normal thing to say suited Celeste-san, and I responded, I guess, with a strange smile. I really don't get girls. I returned to the school building from the dorms and went right up in front of the classroom when I realized I'd been running around the whole school, but I hadn't found any clues, bringing the investigation to a dead end. I even went around and asked plenty of my classmates about it, but I didn't get any valuable information. But the cookies couldn't have just gotten up and walked out of the classroom on their own, so they must have been taken out by someone in our class. There were still a few classmates left. At this rate, I thought, I may as well go around and ask every one of them about it. Maybe it was Ogami-san in the gymnasium nearby. She was the super high school level martial artist, so she was adamant about always training independently in the gym. I couldn't imagine her supplementing her diet with anything but protein. But if she was maintaining a huge body like that, she had to get hungry. But when I visited the gym, it was an unexpected voice that greeted me. Oh, Naeki! What's up? Huh? Asahina-san! In the hall outside of the gym, there was Ogami Sakura-san, Asahina Aoi-san, and Fujisaki Chihira-san. Since the super high school level swimmer Asahina-san and Ogami-san were both athletes, they stuck together a lot, but the super high school level programmer Fujisaki-san joining them made for an odd combination. After practice, I got hungry. I thought I would go buy something to eat, and I stumbled across Fujisaki-san, so I invited her too. Want to come too, Naegi? They were sitting in a circle, like they were at a sleepover or something, everyone with their own drinks, and sweets piled up in the middle. Wait, sweets? Let me see that! I broke into their circle, and Fujisaki-san watched me with wide-eyed anxiety, like a small animal asking, What's wrong, Naegi-kun? I dug around in the pile of sweets between them, finding that quite a large chunk of it had already been eaten. But there were cookies there, too. These are... Asahina-san! What are these cookies? Who knows? I think I probably bought them when I was going shopping. But I also brought a lot of stuff that was in my desk in the classroom, so maybe not. You had a lot of sweets in your desk, didn't you, Asahina-san? Right. I shoved a lot of sweets I got from other people in there, so I got Fujisaki-chan to help me get them. While you were doing that, Asahina-san, did you happen to drop some of the sweets in the classroom? Oh yeah, I couldn't carry all of it in my arms, so they tumbled all over the place. But how'd you know about that, Naegi? Asahina-san's desk was right next to Maizono-san's. She dropped the sweets she had been trying to carry and got Fujisaki-san to help pick them up and carry them over here. And in the process, Maizono-san's sweets, which hadn't been dropped with in the first place, had gotten picked up with the rest of it. In other words, the culprit who took Maizono-san's cookies away was you, Asahina-san! Huh? Asahina-san stared blankly at the finger I was pointing at her. Reasonably so, since she hadn't actually been trying to run off with the cookies. Naegi-kun, what do you mean, Maizono-san's cookies? After Fujisaki-san asked, I explained while everyone else listened quietly. But finally, Ogami-san spoke firmly.
You are wrong, Naegi. It was not Asahina.
Huh?
Asahina was with me the entire time. The only thing she put into her mouth were brand name sweets. I would not allow suspicious sweets from any unknown maker to be placed into my own mouth.
What? After Ogami-san's assertion, I dug through the empty wrappers and saw that, yes, all of them had stickers indicating the manufacturer. So that meant that Ogami-san's explanation was correct. Crap! That's awful, Naegi-kun. Acting like everything food-related is my fault. I'm sorry, Asahina-san. Asahina-san grumbled, but after I practically prostrated myself in earnest apology, she seemed mollified. Well, I am always hungry, so I can see why you would suspect me. If I really had picked up those cookies, I probably would have eaten them without realizing after all. It was a good thing the person I mistook for the culprit was Asahina-san. If it had been one of the hot-blooded boys, he would have beat me up. And if it had been Togami-kun or Celeste-san, they probably would have held a lifelong grudge. But, Naegi, what's with the culprit was you? Are you watching too many detective shows? Well, seems kind of fun. You should tell me about it. The conversation grew lively, and before I knew it, I got dragged into the girl talk. But two cold words snapped me back to reality. You idiot. I turned around and saw someone standing in the doorway into the gymnasium hall, arms crossed. Kirigiri-san! It was her, even though I thought she had brushed me off back in the garden. Come with me, Kirigiri-san said with the barest of vocal inflection, before quickly turning on her heel to go. I followed Kirigiri-san to our destination, the data processing room on the 4th floor. Usually it was just where Fujisaki-san practiced her programming, but Fujisaki-san had been in the gym hall on the 1st floor, and there wasn't anyone else who would need to use the data processing room, so it should have been empty. Sure enough, the lights were off in the room, but a faint light was still coming from inside. Wondering what it could be, I moved in closer to find a computer running, and someone sitting in the seat in front of it. Yamada-kun! A short shriek in the darkened room came from another one of my classmates, the super high school level doujinshi author, Yamada Hifumi. Yee! Naegi Makoto-dono! What business might you have with me? Yamada-kun, why don't you turn the light on? Oh, it slipped my mind entirely. Suddenly, the room was flooded with light. It seemed like Kirigiri-san flipped a switch. Ah! A small wrapped box was sitting next to the computer that Yamada-kun was using. Yamada-kun, what is that? This is something you picked up in the classroom?
I did pick it up there, but I was thinking I would take it to Ishimaru Kiyotaka dono later.
Admittedly, the archery range was an odd place for Ishimaru-kun to be, so if Yamada-kun was saying he was keeping it until he found him, the story did line up. Then what's that strange transparent bag? When I looked closely at what Kirigiri-san was pointing out, I saw the box was covered in a clear bag. It was beautifully wrapped in red wrapping paper, but on top of that, there was another clear bag. It really was strange. You knew they were homemade by the super high school level idol, so you used that to avoid leaving any fingerprints, didn't you?
That's...
And you brought them all the way to the data processing room in particular because you were planning on boasting about it to someone, weren't you? This school was so full of super high school level students that I kept forgetting perspective, but fans would probably be drooling over anything homemade by Mizuno Sayaka, the super high school level idol. There were probably plenty of people who would be willing to openly beg for it. But didn't Yamada-kun only like anime characters? I didn't really get Dojin, but Yamada-kun knew a lot about anime and loved 2D anime characters. A 3D idol should have been outside his range of interest. But I guess that question ignited the flame in Yamada-kun's otaku heart, because he stuck out his chest as he said,
Mizuno Sayaka dono may be a real live idol, but she's so spectacularly popular that she's almost become an anime character.
My friends and I can't stop arguing about when her anime adaptation is going to happen.
I see. Kirigiri-san's sub-zero tone of voice caused Yamada-kun to cower with a long shriek, and he confessed to everything. The wrapping paper's intact, so the cookies should be too. After successfully retrieving the cookies, I returned them to Mizuno-san. It seems that at lunch, Yamada-kun picked up the cookies from Mizuno-san's desk by chance, and, realizing that they were homemade, stealthily took them up to brag to his online friends about them. He was careful not to even leave any fingerprints while he had them, so the cookies inside should have been fine. The silver lining to all this was that Yamada-kun was used to handling collector's items. Mizuno-san took them from me, saying, "Thanks for getting them back." But when she took them out of the clear bag, she turned right around to hand them back to me. "Naegi-kun, if you want, will you take them?" "Huh? But weren't you giving them to someone else?" Mizuno-san shook her head. "Actually, I wanted to send them to my idol friends who should be performing abroad right now, but I would have needed to ship them today for them to make it in time. So I just sent them something else. Though, I don't know if they'll actually get it," she said, smiling weakly. "Oh, I see. So that's why she was looking so hard for them." So long as we didn't know the situation outside, she didn't have any guarantee that any presents would reach her idol friends from here. But she believed that they would reach them, and so made the cookies. But her hopes couldn't be fulfilled. "I'm sorry I didn't find them in time, even though you went through all the effort of making them for your friends." "No, not at all," Mizuno-san denied hastily. "I was so happy you spoke up today. I'm really eternally grateful to you, not just for today, but for all the kindness you always give me." Then she ducked her head in embarrassment, but finally, she raised her head to speak again. "Thank you for everything, Naegi-kun." She wore a smile more extraordinary than any she'd ever shown on television. "You really helped me out, Kirigiri-san." By the time everything had been pieced together, it was already nighttime. It wasn't in time for what Mizuno-san was trying to do, but we were able to resolve everything without any problems. Kirigiri-san glanced at the wrapped box in my hands, narrowing her eyes in scrutiny. Are you sure she wasn't intending to give those to you? Huh? There's no way she would have made them especially for me. Is that so? But the two of you seem very close. That's just because we went to the same middle school. Mizuno-san was just a classmate, not a friend close enough that I would expect to get any presents from her. It's pretty brazen of you to say that after accepting them. She just gave them to me as thanks. Is that so? Would she send something so high in calories to her idle friends, who are on very strict diets? Not to mention we haven't gotten any news from the outside world this whole time. So why would she suddenly send off a present? Huh? Actually, didn't Enoshima-san say the same kind of thing? But idols probably burn a lot of those calories while performing, and the present might have gotten to them. I'm sure she wanted it to. I can't really say, but if you consider the idea that she originally intended to give the cookies to you, everything makes perfect sense. As long as the cookies wound up in my hands in the end, I couldn't deny her story. But Enoshima-san and Kirigiri-san were probably overthinking it. I really wasn't good enough friends with Mizuno-san to get a present from her. Well, whatever the case, watch out for her using you as much as possible from here on out. Using me? You've got that wrong! Mizuno-san isn't that kind of person. After my rebuttal, Kirigiri-san just came back with a contradictory, "Is that so?" And I don't think I was being used. I had been running all around the school looking for those cookies all day today, but it hadn't been a problem at all. I talked to a lot of my classmates, and it felt like a more productive day than usual. Making Mizuno-san happy honestly made me happy too. My talent is different from everyone else's, and it's not really useful or inspirational to anyone, but there are still things I can do. I wanted to do something for everyone, but I had been empty-handed. But now, those hands were holding cookies full of Mizuno-san's gratitude. I'm glad I found out that there are things I can do even without any special talent. Kirigiri-san had been quietly listening to me by my side, but finally she let something slip. You're too soft, Naegi-kun. Too soft? It wasn't really a compliment, but maybe it was weighing on her. Thanks for worrying about me, Kirigiri-san. I looked over at Kirigiri-san nearby as I spoke. She hid her eyes a little, as if averting her gaze. Huh? What's wrong? That's why I said you would be used. Huh? After her response, quiet enough that I couldn't quite catch it, she took something out of her pocket. Take this. It was a simply wrapped small box. Huh? Can I open it? Kirigiri-san nodded, and when I opened it, there were small cookies lined up inside. They were all shaped differently. The one on the far right was a star-shaped cookie. They're countdown cookies. It's a foreign custom to eat one a day leading up to a Merry Christmas. I'm giving them to you. Becoming happy bit by bit every day. In the midst of indefinite days of despair, it felt like she was maybe sharing a bit of happiness with me. I didn't think Kirigiri-san was the super high school level pastry chef or anything, but I was still very happy. It even felt like she was telling me that special talent wasn't the only thing that could make people happy. Thank you, Kirigiri-san! Seeing Kirigiri-san's expression after I said that made me feel warm even in the cool night.